Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's session in the Get Unstuck series. And I have to start by apologising for my technical issues on Wednesday, which meant this live couldn't take place when it was meant to do on Wednesday at 12:15. So happy Friday. We're here today instead, but normally it'll be on a Wednesday at 12:15. So if you're here with me live, and I know it's a bit early on a Friday potentially, so but do say hello, give me a little wave. It's always great to know if people are watching. And if you haven't joined me before, I am Sarah Archer. I'm a career and leadership coach, and I work with female leaders to create the career success that's right for them without burning out or selling out. And I do that through either helping them find their next leadership role, or when they're in it, to have more impact, more influence, more effectiveness, so that they can get the career success that they like and feel like they're fulfilling their potential. And I created the Get Unstuck series because I know, having been a senior leader, it's very hard to find time to think about your career, to think about your career development, because the day job is just so full on. So I wanted just to create a little window, 15 minutes usually in the week, just for you to have space to think about something career related and maybe help you move the dial a little bit on something related to your career. So the sessions are always very practical. There's always something you can take away and experiment with. And before we dive into today's session, I just wanted to say that I have a little announcement to make. So I'm running a live event. It's a virtual event on the 10th of September at 7:30 in the evening. It's a masterclass in how to find your next leadership role and get paid what you're worth. So I'm going to be sharing my 4 steps that you can take to basically take the pain out of job searching, to make it much more easier for you, to help you just make real progress in landing that next leadership role and the role that's right for you, and then obviously negotiating a good package so that you're getting rewarded appropriately. So if you would like to join me for that masterclass, then please do sign up. I'm going to pop the link in the chat now. So I'm hoping that's going to appear. It might not be appearing in LinkedIn. It's just giving me a message saying it's showing in YouTube. So if it's not on the LinkedIn, because I'm using StreamYard to broadcast this session, I will pop it into the comments after the session's finished. But please do join me if you're thinking about moving, because let's face it, leadership roles, it can take 3 to 6 months to find the right role. So if you're thinking about embarking on that and you would like to take the pain out of it, then please do join me on September the 10th in the evening. So let's think about the topic for today, which, because I work with female leaders, comes up a lot. And what I would say as well, if this is something that you're experiencing and you've got a question or a comment, please do pop it into the chat and I will answer it as we're going along. Or if you're watching on replay, hello, tag me in the comment or question and I will answer it later for you. But I know from a lot of the clients that I work with, this issue of not getting your voice heard in the leadership space can come up and obviously be problematic. So maybe you're experiencing just so much noise, so many loud voices that you just can't get yours heard, or maybe you're finding your ideas are being kind of badged as somebody else's ideas, or you're just not being listened to in terms of the initiatives that you are putting forward, or maybe actually in a meeting you're experiencing that being talked over by a colleague or cut across, all those kind of things. And it can be really frustrating. You can feel angry about it, you can feel disempowered, you can feel demotivated, you can find yourself disengaging from the organization, you can feel incredibly frustrating by it, quite rightly so as well. Like I said, it comes up quite often. In fact, I was talking with a few clients over the last couple of weeks where this has kind of appeared for them. So I've got one client who she is in a sort of advisory role to the chief exec, and found that the chief exec was taking the ideas that she had talked to him about and presenting them to the board as his, which was incredibly frustrating for her. I had another client where she was in a small meeting with some leadership colleagues and the chief exec and a new board member, and she was the only female in the room, and she was asked to take the notes, which she found incredibly disempowering. And another client where she has to matrix manage. She's in a senior director role, and found that people would only take action when the chief exec prioritised that particular area of work, not when she was asking people to take action, which again was incredibly frustrating for her. So if you are experiencing these things yourself, please, take heart that you're not alone. It is unfortunately quite common. And when I was preparing for the session today, I was thinking, actually, I need to do 2 sessions on this. So I'm going to split the session into one today and then one next Wednesday, because what I realized is that there's some tactical things you can do, which we're going to talk about today, to get your voice heard. My voice is going for some reason. And then there's also the kind of mindset work, the kind of inner work that's important also in order to get your voice heard. So today I'm going to focus on some of the tactical things, and then next Wednesday at 12:15, hopefully everything will go well technically, I'm going to focus on the mindset issues. If you can't make the session next Wednesday, don't worry. They're always available to watch later. If you go into my LinkedIn profile in the video section, you will find all the lives that I've done, and you can just catch up with it then if you can't make it. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to share a few tactical insights. There's a lot we can do, and I've used a lot of these with different clients, but I'm just going to share a few because of the time today. But you can just start to think about whether they feel right for you and whether you want to experiment with them. And obviously, if you want support with this, if you want coaching on a one-to-one basis to help you with this, because some of this stuff is tricky, then obviously do message me and we can have a chat about that. So the first thing, I'm borrowing from a few of these ideas from a guy called Robert Cialdini, who wrote a book about persuasion, and he wrote it from a kind of sales and marketing point of view. But a lot of the areas that he highlighted, you can adapt to the world of work because they're based on sort of some psychological research and principles. So the first one is building trust and credibility, which sounds very obvious, doesn't it? Because obviously, if we trust somebody, we're more likely to take action if they ask us to do that. We're more likely to listen to them. We're more likely to pay attention. So you can start to think about, okay, have I built up enough trust and credibility in the organization? So that's partly thinking about your brand. Am I someone who does what they say they're going to do? Do I give credit to other people? Do I share my knowledge? So just kind of thinking about what's your brand is saying about you in terms of the organization. Are you seen as a doer? Are you seen as reliable? Are you seen as somebody who's bringing that kind of strategic and operational vision to the leadership team? And then you can also think about being tactical with this. So sometimes we need to remind people of our authority, and we can do this by just doing some scene setting. So it might be very simple as saying something like, from my 10 years experience as a senior HR professional, I've learned that in order for us to implement this initiative successfully, we need to do ABC. So you're just reminding them that you've got 10 solid years experience as a senior HR person or whatever profession you might be in. Or it could be reminding people that, as a senior project manager, I've managed this project really successfully recently. And I understand that for us to get the same kind of success, we need to do X, Y, Z to enable that to happen. So again, you're just linking what you're proposing to your authority and credibility. And I used this really successfully with a client. She was 6 to 8 months into a newish role, and she was a senior project manager. She was having to obviously matrix manage people, and she just wasn't getting any headway in terms of getting people to take action, to listen to her. And so we started to get her to really highlight her significant project management experience and the types of projects she's worked on when she was presenting or asking people to do things, and it made a huge difference to her impact and her influence. So that could be just a very small thing that you can tweak to just remind people of your authority. The second thing is to think about mapping your allies. So, who do you naturally feel aligned to that maybe you have quite a good rapport with, or that you want to be aligned to? Who are the kind of decision makers? Who are the influencers? And just kind of thinking about building up what I like to call is a bank of social credit, because the concept of reciprocity is very powerful. We all know if someone does something for you, you want to do something for them. You want to return the favor. Even if it's a simple thing like sending a birthday card, you want to send that person a birthday card because they remembered your birthday. So it's very powerful. And what you can think about doing in a tactical way is building up a bank of social credit with the people that you want to be allies with. So that could be maybe thinking about, maybe you're lending them a team member for something. Maybe you're giving them some useful information for something that they're working on. Maybe you're buying them a coffee because they're so busy they haven't got time to pop out and get one. Whatever it might be, you're building up a bank of social credit with them. So then when you need them to support you or to open a door for you or to give you some support in a meeting, whatever it might be, they're more likely to do that because you've built up this bank of social credit. So now, with some of these strategies, you might feel like, oh, maybe this is a bit manipulative, but we're always thinking about doing it from a genuine place, okay? But you're being strategic and tactical in order to have the impact that you want to have. And with all of these ideas and suggestions, I would say it's about experimentation and it's about doing whatever you feel comfortable with. But having used them with my clients who go through my Impact and Influence for Female Leaders program, I know that some of these work when they're done authentically and genuinely. So it's kind of thinking about who are your allies, who do you want to build up that reciprocity with. And remember, you're going to be doing things for them as well. It's not that you're, expecting them just to support your open doors without actually having done anything for them. And this kind of leads me into sort of an aligned area with the kind of allies piece, because we want to kind of talk about likability, because we're more likely to be influenced by people that we like. It's just one of those kind of psychological things, and we're more likely to like people who are similar to us. And this is where it gets uncomfortable, because obviously then women particularly and people of colour experience what's called a double bind, because some research done by Gluck, Fisk and Cuddy, who are psychologists, showed that when we interact with somebody, we meet somebody, we're immediately assessing, are they likable and are they credible? Are they competent to do what they do? And this sort of goes back to evolutionary times, because obviously we were assessing people. If they were competent and likable, we were more likely to be safe. And obviously this evolutionary trait has come through into the world of work now. And so we still have that immediate response to people of, are they likable? Are they competent? Now, where the double bind comes in is that if you are in an organization where the high status social group in the leadership team is white male, which it often is, then the people, members of that status group, don't have to prove that they're likable and competent. It's just automatically assumed because they're part of the high status group. And therefore, those people who are in the lower status social group, as it's determined psychologically, so that tends to be women, people of colour often, therefore they have to prove they're both competent and likeable. So this is what's called the double bind. So what that means is that we have to, going back to our credibility piece, building trust, we have to show a competence. So it's reminding people of what we've done previously and what we're bringing to the role. But it's also having to intentionally, deliberately dial up the warmth. So it means thinking about how we cooperate with other people, how we maybe genuinely complement them, how we identify similarities, how we then build relationships. So, some of this we'll do automatically, but it's about maybe having to dial it up. And I really hate that we have to do this, that we're not just automatically seen as both competent and likable. But unfortunately, while the majority of leadership teams are white and male, we have to work harder to show that both we're competent and likable. And it's tricky. It's definitely tricky. And you might hate it too, but we have to position it for ourselves as being strategic and being tactical and utilizing the fact that we are relational. Women are often relational beings, so we're gooder. It's terrible language. We're better at building those relationships naturally. So it's just thinking about how you dial up the warmth with some of your interactions, not with everybody in the organization, that would be exhausting, but with your allies, thinking about the kind of key people that you want to build those relationships with. So then just going back to our fourth area, which is about commitment and consistency. So this is about us as individuals. We don't like to be inconsistent to the image that we have created for ourselves or that we think other people see us as. We like to commit to that image and we like to be consistent. So you can think about utilizing this as a tactical approach when maybe you're wanting your boss to approve something, or you want to get their buy-in to something, whatever it might be. So you might be thinking to position something like this. And I've got an imaginary boss called Mike that I'm positioning this to. Okay, so it might be, Mike, I know that you're a really balanced decision maker. So I know that you're going to give my proposal a really thorough review. So what you're doing is you're setting the scene for Mike to think, yeah, I am a balanced decision maker. I am going to take this proposal and give it a really thorough review, because Mike's not going to want to act inconsistently to the image and the identity that you have just positioned to him. So again, you can think about it in terms of just using it as a strategy, experiment with it, and just see how it works. So, with all of these, like I said, it's just about thinking, what might I want to play around with and experiment with? And obviously, when I work with a client individually, I'm coaching them on a specific area that they are wanting to cut through on. So we practice and we develop a kind of a way to make that approach. So obviously some of these things I'm talking about now are just really top line for you to have a think about, maybe doing a relationship audit, maybe experimenting with reciprocity, maybe experimenting with the commitment and consistency, maybe thinking about the whole likability piece. And the final one I just wanted to share with you, and I've got loads of these, but I just wanted to kind of share a few with you, which is often harder to spot. So you might need to get somebody to give you some feedback on this, but it's just doing a bit of a communication review, because often we can undermine how we communicate. So first it would be thinking about, am I being clear? Am I being concise? Because when you are wanting to get buy-in, people don't want to hear lots of information. They want to be, cut through to the kind of most important stuff. Am I showing how I solve the problem? And then, am I undermining myself in terms of the language that I might use? And that's looking for words or phrases that you have used that can just undermine you. And we often, particularly as women, use these phrases, these words, to help other people feel more comfortable with what we are proposing. So it might be something like using just, I just wanted to check in with you about this. And I know I'm really guilty of using just, so I try not to, but I do tend to use it. Or it might be saying, when you've talked about something, does that make sense? Now, of course it makes sense. You wouldn't have said it if it didn't make sense, but you want other people to feel more comfortable with something you're proposing. So it's just thinking about, I just said it then, thinking about how you are communicating. So doing a bit of a communication review and then again experimenting with not using some of that undermining language or improving your clarity and conciseness when you're trying to get your voice heard. So like I said, I've got more, but I don't want to overload you. So we've looked at today thinking about building trust and credibility, really reminding people of what you're bringing and your expertise, mapping your allies, and thinking about building a social bank of reciprocity, and thinking about the likability factor. We've looked at being consistent, giving somebody kind of an identity that you're wanting them to inhabit, and then wanting to be consistent with that. And we've thought about your communication. So next week, like I said, I'm going to be talking about the mindset piece, which you might feel more comfortable experimenting some of these when we've looked at kind of the mindset piece. And but do get in touch if you want to have some direct support with this kind of area. It's not something we can really fix in 15 minutes, but hopefully I've given you a few ideas to think about. Please do get in touch. And also, please do join me on September the 10th for the live masterclass that's being delivered virtually on how to get your next leadership role and get paid what you're worth. So have a fantastic Friday. I'll be back next Wednesday to the second part of this session, and enjoy the weekend.